Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, a firm specializing in activating workplaces, helping you discover ways to amplify performance and employee engagement. Together, we do leader boot camps, keynotes, and pulse checks. Just let us know what you need. Okay, quick question for you. Have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? I am guessing yes, only because most people around me tend to nod in the face of that question. So what would you think of me if I told you that I have lots of challenges, because I do, but that imposter syndrome just isn't one of them? Would you think, wow, Rachel's ego is out of control, or that I'm clearly short on self-awareness, that my confidence has no limits? Maybe, but you'd be wrong. Truth is, my secret to not struggling with imposter syndrome is kind of the opposite. It comes from my having a lot of humility, from knowing exactly where and when I fall short, and from being so super clear on what I am not equipped to do that frankly the syndrome has gotten bored with me. But I'm pretty sure I'm in a minority on this. So today, if you've ever struggled with feeling like an imposter in your own world, I'd like to leave you equipped to slam the door in its face. Because while I don't know how to do everything, I do know how to do this. First, I see and ask for what it really requires. I do have confidence in myself, don't get me wrong. It's reasonable and healthy, but it has its boundaries. Want me to design and run a killer meeting? To activate your team or help you lead them effectively through change? No problem. Want me to remove your kidney or fly you to Geneva? Pass. Okay, the flying and surgical references are a stretch, but stick with me here. Because there's a difference between things that might intimidate or challenge me and things I'm just not qualified or even certified to do. And I always force myself to see those distinctions clearly. I know, for example, that I think in slides over spreadsheets, which is a really flippant way to say that I know if you're looking for an experience or a transformation or the opportunity to learn and practice a new capability, I'm the one you need. And also, there's no one right way to do these. I feel good about my way. But I know equally well that if you're looking for a quantitative analysis of your organization's effectiveness or a statistically valid survey, I'm not your guy. I know what I do and I know what I don't. And I'm really comfortable with that. So for you, the question is, what is most intimidating you right now? What is the challenge you're struggling to take on? Is your hesitation coming from a recognition that it's not in your wheelhouse? It's totally okay to step away. Or do you need to just ask yourself, is there such a thing as qualified? Is there a right and wrong way? And if not, go with your way. Next, I manage my brand to inform the opportunities. You may notice that every week I start and end this show with the same language around what I do. And as a result, I'm super lucky to have listeners who reach out to me with invitations to speak or run activation boot camps or pulse checks or even leading through change workshops. Never have I gotten a request to build a website or analyze a compensation model. Either of these would be disasters. Now granted, this podcast gives me a literal platform to say out loud what I do. But also, in the day-to-day of running my business, I work with plenty of people who've never heard the show or even know that I have one. And I don't get to do official intros or outros. But I do get to share my expertise, my opinions, my areas of professional interest. And I'm intentional in what I touch and how I curate. All of this helps position me in the minds of the people I'm working with. I never speak up when the conversation is about pivot tables or back-end analytics. I show up in every conversation with clarity around what I know and where I shine. And this essentially becomes my professional brand. It brings the right opportunities my way. So how well are you doing this? Here are a few reflection questions you might sit with. When you speak in a meeting, how intentional are you in waiting for moments when you have something uniquely different to offer or ask? When you offer to help a colleague, how intentional are you in saying, here's where I can add the most value, not just here's where I can lend a hand? And when you volunteer to sit on a committee or participate in a project, do you take the time to choose wisely the opportunities that will let you highlight what you most want to highlight? When you work upfront to filter the opportunities and requests that come your way, then by default, you end up more confident in the doing of the thing. And imposter syndrome just has no room to breathe. Next, I play my mental achievement reel a lot. Hey, did I mention I'm not great at everything? Imposter syndrome feeds off our insecurity. But knowing this is a huge advantage for me, and so I fend it off by keeping present reminders of what I do really well. Not just with self-talk and mantras, though there is totally space for those, but with actual evidence of the things I've already accomplished successfully that I know will fuel the opportunity ahead. At this point, I've delivered hundreds of keynotes, talks, and workshops. I've built activation blueprints for dozens of organizations across nearly every industry. I've designed and delivered a decade's worth of executive offsites, and I have tons of glowing reviews. Now, if that sounds braggy, I'm kind of sorry not sorry, because I'm saying all of that for my benefit, not yours. These are the things I have to remember. I hold on to emails and testimonials and referrals that I've earned, because they remind me not just of what I could do, but what I have done. And you can do this for yourself even without a huge track record. The very first time I was getting on a stage to speak, I was terrified. And without a track record, imposter syndrome came knocking. But what did I do? I thought about smart comments I'd made during lectures in graduate school, or even intimidating conversations I've had with leaders in meetings during my days of being a full-time employee. Because these reminded me that I've spoken up before, successfully, and this would help me on that stage. So for you, what do you want to raise your hand for? Maybe it's leading a big project and you're swirling in self-doubt. So try asking yourself, have you ever planned a big trip for friends or family? Have you led a discussion for your book club? What have you already done that in some way is proof that you have this skill? And how can you extract just a little bit of confidence and evidence of your capability from that? And finally, I ask for help like a pro. A huge driver of my confidence comes not just from my own experiences, but from the richness of my network and my comfort in tapping it. I ask for help all the time because I know that as good as I can make a thing, I can make it that much better with the mindshare of those I trust around me. When I say I can figure something out, what I mean is this. I'll use what I know and I'll do what I can. And when I hit a wall, which I will, I'll reach out for support, for advice or intelligence or just an infusion of energy from a chat with a great friend. So now, friend, what is the thing that has you most afraid? Most certain that if you tried, you'd fail? Who do you know and trust who could help you pave a path around that? And what do you need to ask of them? Just do it. I hope that if you've ever struggled with imposter syndrome, there is something I've offered here that you might borrow. I'd love to give you the boost of confidence you need to take on that scary thing. Join me next week for another great episode. Until then, visit my website at leadabovenoise.com. If your workplace could use an activation boost, a boot camp, a keynote, a pulse check, you choose. You can follow Modern Mentor on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Find and follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for listening and have a successful week. Modern Mentor is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Dan Feuerband. Our director of podcasts is Brandon Getchis. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. And our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin.